Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Easy English Podcast. I'm Hannah, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, Alex.
Hi, Hannah, and hello to all our wonderful listeners around the world. We are so glad you are tuning in today. Today's episode is a special one. It is a slow, beginner-friendly listening story.
Yes, we love stories. Listening to stories is one of the absolute best ways to improve your English. It helps you hear grammar and vocabulary in a natural way. Today, we have a story about a young man named Tom. Tom is having a very big day, but also a very stressful day.
Oh, yes. Tom has a job interview today. A job interview is a formal meeting where you talk to a company to see if they will hire you to work for them. It is very exciting, but it can make you feel very nervous.
Exactly. To feel nervous means to feel a little bit worried or scared about something. Let's start our story and meet Tom. Tom woke up early this morning. He wanted to make sure everything was perfect. He wore his best clothes. He chose a beautiful, clean, light blue shirt.
Ah, a light blue shirt. That sounds very professional. Professional means looking suitable or right for a job. He must have looked very smart. In English, when we say someone looks smart in relation to clothes, it means they look neat, tidy, and well-dressed.
Yes, he looked very smart. His shirt was perfectly ironed. When you iron clothes, you use a hot metal tool to make the fabric smooth and flat with no wrinkles. Tom ironed his shirt for 10 minutes. He also wore a nice dark blue jacket over his shirt.
So he was fully prepared. He had his resume in his bag, his hair was neat, and he was ready to go. He left his apartment on time. Actually, he left a little bit early because he did not want to be late. In English, we say on time when you arrive at the exact correct time, and early when you arrive before the start time.
That is a very good habit, especially for a job interview. It is always better to be early than late. So Tom walked to the subway station. The subway is an underground train system. In some places, people call it the metro or the tube. Tom bought his ticket and walked down to the platform. The platform is the flat area next to the train tracks where passengers wait for the train. While Tom was waiting on the platform, he was practicing his introduction in his head. He was saying, "Hello, my name is Tom. It is a pleasure to meet you." He wanted to make a great first impression.
A first impression is the very first idea or feeling that someone gets about you when they meet you. It is very important. Soon, the train arrived. It was quite busy. Lots of people were getting on and off the train. Tom waited politely. He let other people step off the train first.
That is very polite of him. But because he waited, he was the last person to step onto the train. And just as he was stepping inside the train doors, he heard a loud beep. Beep, beep, beep. That is the sound the subway doors make right before they close. Oh no, that sound always makes me feel a bit panicky. When the doors start to close, they move very quickly. Tom jumped quickly inside the train carriage. He made it. He was inside. But suddenly, he felt a pull on his arm. He could not move his left arm properly.
Wait, what happened? Why couldn't he move his arm? Did he drop something?
No, it was worse than that. The heavy metal doors of the subway train had closed completely shut, and Tom's left sleeve was caught right between the doors. A sleeve is the part of a shirt or jacket that covers your arm. His beautiful, clean, perfectly ironed sleeve was trapped.
Oh no, that is a nightmare. To be trapped means you are stuck and you cannot get out. So Tom was standing inside the train, but his sleeve was stuck outside, pinched tightly between the two closed doors.
Yes, exactly. He was stuck. He tried to pull his arm, but the doors were closed too tightly. The train started to move. Chugga, 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 went the train down the dark tunnel. Tom was standing there, frozen, with his arm held up against the door.
When we say someone is frozen in this context, we do not mean they are cold like ice. It means they are so shocked or surprised that they cannot move. They are completely still. I can picture Tom now, standing in a very strange, awkward position inside a crowded train.
By the way, if you are enjoying this story, taking a second to subscribe or like this episode really helps our podcast reach other English learners around the world.
It really does. And please leave your questions in the comments as we love reading and answering them. Anyway, back to our story in the subway.
Yes, it was extremely awkward. An awkward situation is one that feels embarrassing or difficult. All the other passengers on the train started to look at him. Some people were whispering and some were smiling. Tom's face turned very red. He was so embarrassed.
I would be embarrassed too. But the main problem is not just the embarrassment. The main problem is his job interview. He is on his way to an interview, and now his clothes are getting ruined, and he is stuck to a door. What is he going to do?
That is the big question. He needs to find a way to get his sleeve out of the door before he reaches his stop. But the train is moving fast, and the next station is still a few minutes away. He needs to think of a plan, and he needs to do it quickly.
This is such a tense moment. Let's think about the vocabulary here. His sleeve is caught. To get caught means to become stuck or trapped in something. You can get your keys caught in your bag or your sleeve caught in a door, just like Tom.
That is right, and the clock is ticking. He looks at his watch. It is 9:45. His interview is at 10 o'clock. He has only 15 minutes. If he does not free his sleeve soon, he will miss his station. So Tom decides he must ask for help. But it is not easy to ask a stranger for help, especially when you are in a funny, embarrassing position.
It really is not easy. When we say stranger, we mean a person we do not know. On a train, almost everyone is a stranger. To ask a stranger for help, especially when you are in a hurry and stressed, you need to use polite but very direct English. You want to show that it is an emergency, but you still want to be respectful.
Exactly. You cannot just shout, "Hey, you, pull this!" That might scare people or make them ignore you. So Tom takes a deep breath. He looks at a young woman standing near him. She has a kind face and is carrying a book. Tom decides to speak to her. Let's listen to how he asks for help politely and urgently.
This is a great teaching moment. What does Tom say to her, Hannah?
First, he says, "Excuse me, I am so sorry to bother you, but I need some help." This is a wonderful phrase to start with. "I am sorry to bother you" is a very polite way to get someone's attention when they are busy doing something else, like reading or listening to music.
Yes, to bother means to disturb or annoy someone. By saying, "sorry to bother you," you are showing that you respect their time and space. It is a very soft way to start a conversation with a stranger. But because this is an emergency, he has to follow it up with something urgent. What does he say next?
He points to his arm and says, "My sleeve is stuck in the door. Could you please help me pull it out?" He uses the word could, which is much more polite than can. "Could you please help me" is the perfect phrase here.
That is a perfect phrase indeed. Let's repeat that for our listeners. Could you please help me? You can use this in so many situations. For example, could you please help me carry this bag? Or could you please help me find the station? It is gentle but clear.
Yes, and because Tom is in a rush, he adds a bit of urgency. He says, "The train is going to stop soon, and I really need to get off. I am afraid my jacket will rip if I pull too hard by myself. Do you think we could pull together on the count of 3?
Ah, on the count of 3. That is a common English expression. It means we will count 1, 2, 3. And then we will both action at the same time on the number 3. It helps people coordinate their physical strength. For example, when you are moving a heavy sofa with a friend, you say, "Let's lift on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, lift."
Precisely. The woman with the book looks at Tom's red face, looks at his sleeve caught firmly in the metal door, and she smiles kindly. She says, "Oh dear, of course, let me help you." "Oh dear" is a very natural British and international English expression of sympathy. People say it when they see someone has a small problem.
That is true. It shows she feels a little bit sorry for him. So she puts her book into her bag. She stands close to Tom and takes hold of the fabric of his jacket sleeve, right near the door. Tom also holds his sleeve. Now they are ready.
Tom says, "Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3, pull!" They both pull with all their strength. Tom pulls his arm back, and the kind stranger pulls the fabric. For a second, nothing happens. The door is holding the cloth very tightly.
Oh no, is the jacket going to tear? To tear or to rip means to break fabric or paper into pieces. If his suit jacket tears, that will look even worse for his interview.
Fortunately, it does not tear. Suddenly, with a loud whoosh sound, the sleeve slips out of the door. Tom falls backward a little bit because he was pulling so hard, but he manages to stay on his feet. He is free.
What a relief! Relief is that warm, happy feeling you get when a worry or pain goes away. Imagine the feeling when you finally find your lost keys. That is relief. Tom must have felt a massive wave of relief.
He absolutely did. He immediately turns to the woman and says, "Thank you so much. I really appreciate your help. You are a lifesaver."
You are a lifesaver. We love this idiom in English. Of course, the woman did not actually save Tom's physical life. He was not in danger of dying, but she helped him out of a very difficult and stressful situation. We say, "You are a lifesaver" to anyone who helps us in a moment of great need. For example, if you forgot your wallet and your colleague buys you lunch, you can say, "Thank you, you are a lifesaver."
Yes, it is a very warm and friendly way to show deep gratitude. The woman laughs and says, "You are very welcome. Good luck." Just then, the train starts to slow down. The robotic voice speaker announces, "Next station, City Center. This is Tom's stop."
Wow, talk about perfect timing. If he had been stuck for even one more minute, he would have missed his stop completely. But wait, Hannah, we have another problem now. He is free from the door, but what does he look like? He was just pulling and sweating, and his sleeve was crushed in a dirty train door.
Oh, he looks like a bit of a mess, Alex. He steps off the train onto the platform, and he takes a look at himself in the reflection of a station window. His hair, which was perfectly brushed this morning, is now sticking up in different directions because he was sweating. His tie is crooked. Crooked means not straight. And worst of all, his right sleeve is covered in gray dust from the door, and it is completely wrinkled.
Oh, wrinkled. That is a key vocabulary word for clothes. When fabric has many folds and lines in it because it was crushed or not ironed, we say it is wrinkled. If you leave your clean t-shirt in a pile on the floor for 3 days, it will be very wrinkled. You usually need an iron and some steam to make it smooth again. But Tom does not have an iron. He is standing in a subway station and his interview is in 10 minutes.
He has no time to go home and change. He looks at his sleeve. It looks like an accordion. He uses his hands to quickly brush off the gray dust. Most of the dust comes off, which is good, but the wrinkles remain. His sleeve looks very rumpled.
Rumpled is another great word. It is very similar to wrinkled, but it often describes a whole look. If your clothes look messy, untidy, and crushed, you look rumpled.
Tom looks like he just woke up from a long sleep in his suit.
Exactly. He looks rumpled and messy, but he has no choice. He has to go to the interview. He walks quickly up the stairs of the station, comes out into the fresh air, and runs toward the big office building. He arrives at the front desk at exactly 9:55. He has 5 minutes to spare.
The tension is high. He is in the building, but now he has to face the interviewer looking like that. How is he going to explain his appearance without sounding unprofessional? This is a very common challenge for English learners. How to explain an accident or mistake to a boss or interviewer in a polite way that does not sound like a bad excuse.
It really is a challenge, Alex. When we're stressed and speaking a second language, we sometimes forget our polite words.
But Tom takes a deep breath. He stands in the elevator and tries to smooth down his hair with a little bit of water from his water bottle. It helps a little, but his sleeve is still a complete disaster. He steps out of the elevator on the 10th floor. The office is beautiful, with big glass windows and shiny floors. It makes him feel even more rumpled. He walks to the reception desk and says, "Hello, my name is Tom Carter. I'm here for a 10 o'clock interview with Miss Jenkins."
The receptionist is very polite. She smiles and tells him to take a seat. She says, "Miss Jenkins will be with you in a moment." Tom sits down on a modern leather sofa. He tries to sit in a way that hides his right arm, but it is very difficult. He is sweating and his heart is beating fast.
This brings us to a useful phrase, to have butterflies in your stomach. Have you ever heard this one, Hannah?
Oh yes, I love that expression. To have butterflies in your stomach means to feel very nervous, especially before something important, like an exam, a presentation, or, indeed, a job interview. It feels like little butterflies are fluttering around inside you. Do you get butterflies often, Alex?
I absolutely do, especially when I have to speak in front of a large group of people. It is a very natural feeling. Tom definitely has a whole swarm of butterflies in his stomach right now. But he tells himself to calm down. He reminds himself that he is qualified for the job. He knows how to do the work. He just has a very wrinkly sleeve.
Exactly. A messy sleeve does not mean he is a bad worker. Just then, a door opens. A woman with a kind smile and a very neat blue suit walks out. She says, "Tom, I am Sarah Jenkins. Please, come in." Tom stands up. He knows he has to make a decision. Should he ignore the mess, or should he say something immediately?
That is a great question. In professional situations, it is usually best to address the elephant in the room. To address the elephant in the room is an idiom. It means to talk about an obvious problem or difficult situation that everyone can see but might feel uncomfortable discussing. If Tom does not say anything, Miss Jenkins might think he always dresses in dirty, wrinkled clothes. So he needs to explain, but he needs to do it quickly and politely.
Right. He should not tell a long, dramatic story about the subway door, the stranger, and his keys. He needs to keep it short and professional. So, as they walk into her office, Tom smiles warmly, shakes her hand, and says, "It is a pleasure to meet you, Miss Jenkins. I must apologize for my appearance today. I had a slight mishap on the subway ride over here."
Oh, mishap! What a perfect word choice by Tom. A mishap is a small, unlucky accident. It is not a tragedy. It is just a minor problem. For example, if you spill a little coffee on your notebook, that is a mishap. It sounds much more professional than saying, "I had a disaster," or "I had a terrible fight with a train door."
Yes, mishap is very polite and keeps the tone light. Miss Jenkins looks at his sleeve and then looks at his face. She looks a little curious. Tom continues, "My sleeve unfortunately got caught in the closing doors just as I was getting off. A very kind passenger helped me get free, but as you can see, my suit lost the battle with the door.
I hope you can overlook my rumpled look today.
That is incredibly polite and clear. Let us break down what he said because it is so useful. First, he used unfortunately. This is an adverb we use to show that we are sad or disappointed about a fact. For example, unfortunately, it is raining today, so we cannot go to the park. It's a great word for explaining a problem.
And then he used the verb to overlook. To overlook means to ignore a mistake or a bad point, or to choose not to focus on it. Tom is asking Miss Jenkins to focus on his skills and his answers, rather than his messy jacket. He is saying, please focus on who I am, not what I look like right now.
How does Miss Jenkins react? Well, she actually laughs, but it is a warm, friendly laugh. She says, "Oh, Tom, please don't worry about it at all. The subway doors in this city can be very aggressive. I am just glad you are safe and that you made it here on time. Please, have a seat."
Wow, what a relief! The butterflies in Tom's stomach start to fly away. By being honest, polite, and a little bit funny, he made a great first impression. He showed that he can handle stressful situations with grace and humor. That is actually a very good quality in an employee.
It really is, Hannah. It shows he does not panic when things go wrong. They sit down and the interview begins. Ms. Jenkins asks him about his past work experience, his skills, and why he wants to work at her company. Because Tom is no longer worrying about his sleeve, he can focus completely on his answers. He speaks clearly, uses great examples, and expresses himself very well.
Exactly, Alex. He is completely focused now. He talks about his past projects with so much energy. He explains how he loves solving problems and working with a team. Miss Jenkins listens carefully, nodding her head and taking notes. The conversation flows so easily that Tom completely forgets about his wrinkled, dirty sleeve. He feels confident and happy.
That is the best feeling during an interview, when you stop feeling like it is an exam and it starts to feel like a great conversation. After about 45 minutes, Miss Jenkins smiles and closes her notebook. She says, "Well, Tom, thank you so much for coming in today. I really enjoyed talking with you. You have excellent skills, and I am very impressed by how you handled your little subway adventure today."
Oh, that is wonderful. It means she saw his accident as a positive thing. It showed his character. Tom stands up, shakes her hand, and says, "Thank you so much for your time, Miss Jenkins. I really appreciate the opportunity. Have a great afternoon."
Let us look at that phrase. I appreciate the opportunity. This is a very professional and polite way to say thank you after an interview. The word appreciate means to be grateful for something, and opportunity means a chance to do something good. So Tom is saying he is grateful for the chance to interview for the job.
Yes, it is a perfect phrase to write down and memorize, listeners. You can use it in emails, too. For example, after an interview, you can send an email saying, "Thank you for your time today. I truly appreciate the opportunity to discuss this role with you." It is very professional.
So Tom walks out of the office building. He steps onto the busy sidewalk and takes a deep, deep breath of fresh air. He looks down at his sleeve. It is still a bit dirty and wrinkled, but now he just smiles at it. It is not a disaster anymore. It is just a funny story.
It really is. He actually looks at his phone and calls his best friend to tell him everything that happened. He says, "You will not believe my day. I got caught in the subway doors. A stranger saved my suit, and I think I just aced my interview."
Oh, to ace something. That is a great idiom. If you ace an interview, a test, or an exam, it means you did an excellent job and got a perfect result. For example, I studied all weekend, and I think I aced my English test. It is a very common casual expression.
And you know what, Alex? A few days later, Tom gets an email. He opens it quickly, his heart beating fast. It is from Miss Jenkins. She writes, "Dear Tom, we are delighted to offer you the job."
He got the job. That is amazing. And she even added a small note at the end of the email. P.S. Please wear the same suit on your first day, but perhaps stay away from the subway doors. That is so funny and sweet.
I love that. It shows that being honest and authentic is always the best choice. Tom did not try to hide his mistake or lie about why his suit was messy. He just explained it simply, politely, and with a smile.
Absolutely. This story teaches us so many things. First, accidents happen to everyone. You cannot always control what happens to you, like a subway door closing on your jacket, but you can always control how you react to it. Tom chose to stay calm, ask for help, and be honest.
Yes, and we also learned some fantastic vocabulary today. We learned to get caught, mishap, unfortunately, to overlook, and to appreciate the opportunity. These are all wonderful words and phrases that will help you sound polite, professional, and natural in English.
They certainly will. Well, that brings us to the end of our story and the end of today's episode of the Easy English podcast. We hope you enjoyed traveling on the subway with Tom today, and we hope his story inspires you to stay calm and confident when little mishaps happen in your own life.
Thank you so much for listening to us today, everyone. Keep practicing your English, stay positive, and we will talk to you in the next episode.
Goodbye, everyone. Have a wonderful day and stay safe out there on the subway.